This
differently
conference will
when it
now be recorded.
will think differently when moving to the cloud. It's not on the prem. So I just want to kind of wrap it up and say, hopefully you'll change your mind the way you were thinking on prem versus in the cloud.
Awesome. And Nick has already written, if I try to understand, more than maybe 40,000 Azure Data Factory, and he did a couple of successfully migration. Uh, I got an opportunity to interact with Nick, and he is just awesome, who is doing a lot of stuff. So if you are from Toronto or Ontario area, you could connect to Nick any point of time. We will share our contact details as well. And
I just want to correct, almost 4,000, not 40,000. It's too
uh,
much. It was way
that's
too much, but I'm
yeah.
talking about the Azure Data Factory. But in one company, I designed 5,000 SSIS packages, and basically over 100 data SSIS packages were created in 43 seconds.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, yeah, that sounds impressive, Nick. So here we will give ourselves another 4 or 5 minutes, and
Okay.
then we will jump into it. So I'm from Saskatchewan, cold area, indeed, very cold area, uh, but beautiful area as well. So I'm from that part of Canada, and I remember when one time I was speaking on Chicago, one speaker asked me, "Hey Deepak, if you don't mind, where this hell Saskatchewan is?" So so Saskatchewan is on the west coast. I know a lot of guys, if I will say Alberta or Calgary, they know. So it's not too far. It's a province in prairies, and you know, it's nice place. And Nick, as I shared, is from Toronto.
Yeah, I'm from Toronto. I've been working in Toronto for 14 years now, almost. Yeah, 14 years. And I've been working for big companies, IBM, in Montreal, in Toronto, banks, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I can see you right now.
Yeah.
Deepak, if I may suggest, maybe everyone can just type their location and what their specialties is, like what they're focusing on, so we know who our audience is before we start. They don't have to speak, they just type it and we'll just kind of, if that's okay with you.
Yeah,
And
that's perfectly fine, my friend. So can we could see Jason, Leo, Nick, Peter, and Amy. I know uh, Amy and Leo. They earlier also joined our session. Leo is probably from Europe somewhere. So yeah, could you please type about your expertise that's gonna to be understand us uh, what we are going to connect, what where we are focusing, and that would help us to plan another session. Here I would also like to add on another 2 sessions on February is almost scheduled. We are going to have mm, 2 sessions on AI. He is one of the Canadian AI MVP. He would be joining us, and I think Nick and me are also doing one session together in February, right, Nick?
yeah, yes, yes.
So, do you have any plan what we are going to be in next session?
Yeah, if everyone likes this session because it's a little bit more hand-on, I'm gonna combine Azure Data Factory with other services like Azure Logic App. Well, you have to do it. You know, it's the cloud. A combination of services is more convenient, more cheaper, more easier, and sometimes mandatory. Like you can't escape it. But I'm gonna bring other factors in, other services, maybe Azure Databricks, a little bit Python.
Yeah.
But let's see who the audiences are, what level they are, and do I really need to go really hands-on, or do I need to kind of provide some hints from a management perspective or from a management/chat role in between my audiences?
I got it. Yeah, that's a good idea. So excitement are building here for Saskatchewan chapter, and we have Nick, we have Rahat, who is AI MVP, and another MVP, I think, Roy Kim. He is also from Ontario. Probably he is also join us one day. I'm not sure about the week or so, but I will keep on publish. Being said that, stopping my webcam for now, and I think it's right time to jump on.
Yeah, just please, the audiences didn't type anything. I don't see any, like, I want to know their location and their specialties, if they can do that, please.
Yes, we
In the
will
chat
appreciate,
section.
guys.
Yeah, in the
Yeah,
chat
yeah,
section.
yeah. Okay, so let me start sharing. I'm sharing my screen, and Nick, you could see my presentation, right?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, so guys, let's start, and in between, I think you could maybe on listen mode. But once you get a time, as Nick requested, you can type. Thank you. So here, Azure security defenses you ought to know. This is very interesting topic, and nowadays, as enterprise are moving towards the cloud, we know we still have that kind of hesitation. We have some kind of not that confidence which we gather on-prem from couples of decades, like how my data is secure, what is gonna to be, where my data will store. And that kind of questions I also encounter day to day when I do consulting, when I speak to different public sectors. They have that kind of A, geographical limitation, B, political limitation. If that's a geographical limitation, it means, one country don't want its data to be stored in another country. For example, if I'm working with Canadian public sector or government sector, they don't want me, I will use data center that is maybe in Europe or maybe outside Canada. That's not allowed. That's not allowed. That's not a, though it cost us less, but that's not recommended. So we will look for what are the defense we have available, and we will take it forward from there. So why my screen is not moving here? So security is for everyone job. If I talk about security, security is for everyone. Security is not limited or restricted for for any specific department. Earlier we think whenever we develop a code, I'm coming from a background of development. So whenever I write a very beautiful code, very beautiful application, I think, hey, I did my job. My application is running perfectly fine. All functionality is working. I hardly pay any attention to security. However, that's the not case. Security is not limited or restricted up to a specific department like these wonderful guys, all right? They are there in the market to ensure the security. However, for IT, I don't think that's gonna to be, a good idea. That's not at all a good idea, right? In IT, we have to ensure what we are doing, how my data is secure. If I have written very good application, very good application, and it's not secure, say I have written world best functionality, give very good user interface, very great data, and I ensure everything. But the same day that application got hacked, then definitely it's not going to be a secure application. So we have to take the ownership and responsibility as well as owners if security has been compromised. And we have been leveraged by Azure to ensure the security. So the question is, why security is important? We have a security breach, multiple security breach. We have come across many cases where security has been compromised. Nowadays, cryptojacking and crypto pirates are another cases where security has been regularly compromising. They take your data and ask you to pay in the form of cryptocurrency. Um, you know what I mean? That happened to a very good bank as well. Uh, that is another thing where we have to plan and prepare ourselves. Hey, whatever I'm working, wherever I'm working, whether it is my application or whether it is my personal website, my data is secure. We always have insider threats. We do have someone from company who is not intentionally, but say he's sitting in the Tim Horton enjoying the coffee and writing some very nice code and interacting with the database, making some query, but that guy don't know that network where you are connected on the cafe. And I think that's happened with everyone. I usually went to Teams, and whenever I have to do some work, so I also do that thing, but we don't know that network is not secure. Someone is watching you, have your all password. Someone could connect on your behalf, and they could manipulate or update your queries and request and response accordingly. So that is kind of another threat which we do have. And this is very common threat if we are working on any public open network, unsecure network. That is another thing. Accidental, this may happen to anyone, anywhere, without any guilt, without any reasons, or maybe natural, maybe unnatural. But we have to ensure our data is secure. If our data is secure, then probably we could say, hey, our data is secure, and we could mitigate any accidental case. For example, if there is tsunami or there is uh, earthquake, we could mitigate that scenarios by replication of our data. We could replicate our data maybe on the different geographical location, maybe on different zones. So that is the power we have from cloud. We have corporate espionage, right? That is also not something which never happened and which will not happen. So we should consider that kind of scenario where we are considering, hey, uh, uh, if we found someone in the organization that is actually not working for the organization, and he is working or she is working for some another organization. Uh, from cloud, we could leverage ourselves with that as well. Ransomware is the another case. And hey Leo, I could see your message. Could you type your location as well? Thank you. So another is the denial of services. This is a very beautiful pattern and services offered by Microsoft, uh, which by which you leverage yourself with the patterns of thank you, Leo. Patterns of common security threats. For example, if your storage is being hammered by someone with the different patterns, different common passwords, and different options, then denial of services automatically come into the picture. Denial of service is a artificial intelligence powered pattern which understand, hey, this guy not seems to be a regular or authentic guy. For example, if I have logged into my Azure portal from Saskatchewan, and very next instance I try to log in my Azure portal, say from Europe or from Africa, then Azure portal will understand, well, denial of services or artificial intelligence will understand, hey, it seems something dicey, right? You have to validate your authentication. Can I send you password, or can I send you SMS, or could you validate on email? That kind of things is also there. And we do have a reputation where we have good friends who are working across different companies. Ex-employee can be the friend of Y-employee, and both are working on the companies which are really not in good relationships. So that kind of thing also happen, and that's why, owing to all these 8 scenarios, we have to never compromise our security. We have to work our level best to ensure we are doing best security. There are some offerings from Microsoft as well where we could understand, yeah, these are the some of the scenarios. So cloud native, earlier we were thinking cloud native, being IT guy, what is my understanding? We were thinking application and services that automate and integrate the concept of continuous delivery, microservices, containers, and serverless. But that's not uh, for cloud native. We could say it's not copying everything from your traditional data center to another data center. It's way beyond that. We couldn't say, if we are saying cloud native, I'm a cloud guy. I'm only concerned about, migration of data. No, that's not the case. We have a lot of options. We could write our application, we could deploy our application, we could ensure the security, we could work on various old software development life cycle. So we have to think about beyond this, and we could say, hey, uh, we need to migrate our data. That's one thing, but I could deploy my application, I could deploy my firewall, I could deploy my VPN, and I could work around it. So that's one of the beautiful case of it. And whenever we talk about the cloud security, and then we are saying about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. All these factors are the part of Azure cloud platform where we are confidential. We are not going to share any data to anyone. If it's your data, even a Microsoft employee can't access your data, and their data center is more like a jail, right? It's you don't find any rack or any USB port where you could plug and play it, or any front end TV or monitor is there. No, that's not available. Another thing is the availability. As a Microsoft, we ensure data is available every time to everyone. It's available every time. If there is natural disaster, if there is the uh, some geological disaster, if there is the regional disaster, we ensure we have copy of your data. We ensure if you lose your data on a particular location, your business is still running. Your data could be make available within fraction of minutes at most, and you could uh, access your data from there. And we have very sound foundation on the integrity as well. So that's what we are offering. We have resilience, improve availability. We are ensuring we have confidentiality, availability, and integrity things. So being said that, let's jump into Azure Advisor. There are a couple of offerings which you could leverage yourself. I will discuss, I think, if time allowed, 2 to 3 offerings today, and maybe take on another offerings later on. So first is the Azure Advisor. If you are a Azure guy and you have Azure portal. I know a couple of guys who are in session. You know, we have common Azure background. So if you want to ensure your security, so we have this guy advisor. You could write here as well and type advisor. As well as you type advisor, you will land it to a left-hand panel here. And here Azure Advisor will give you recommendation on the basis of your resources, on the basis of performance. So this is my advisor. Here I would like to show you guys. I don't have a lot of resources available here because whenever I perform any demo or whenever I perform any tech talk, I deleted those resources. I don't need those resources. So I have 7 resources and it's advisor giving me suggestions on the basis of 7 resources. So as per advisor, I have 1 resource impacted. So it's say this is the low impact and Azure service issue affect me. It is on 1 subscription, and let's see the description by going here. I'm here. It's a I'm on Microsoft Azure subscriptions. Health alert is there. What I want to do: postpone, dismiss, or implement. So I do have that option. I will click again to understand what is basically this Azure Service Health Alert is. And I will say alert target is for Azure sponsorship. It's for 148 services are selected. Region is not selected. I could select the region, maybe Canada Central. Here you go. And service health criteria is 3. And I could say enable rule upon creation or don't enable rule creation. I could create some action group as well, where I have option to create action group. What need to do? Do I need to send some notification? Do I need to send some emails, etc.? So I'm not doing that at this demo. I could select it. I could either postpone it for a week or a month or couple of weeks, right? Or I could also implement this security. So that's up to me. That is the Azure Monitor. This is very good tool available by Microsoft. So if you are using your Azure resources any point of time, you could use this advisor recommendation. You could look or keep looking over and what they are saying. This is come under high availability area. Under security, I have 6 recommendations, and these recommendations are very high impact on my resources. So I could go over here. Okay, I could say what this recommendation is. It's prevent potential security breaches. It's really niche, right? It's really look very impacted. It could impact me on larger extent. So over here I could go and say what is my score out of 4 resources. 3 are unhealthy resources, so I have 3 high severity recommendation, 1 medium severity recommendation, and this recommendation is from my storage, blob storage and database. One is for identity access. It gives me score as well. If I implement this security, enable multiple authentication access account, then I will get 50 credit. It means my total score, security score or total resources score will increase by 50. I could implement it. Or I could say, if I go here, I could say, okay, I will implement later. Another is the enable auditing for SQL Server. It give me options as well. What I need to do, if I click over here, it will say, hey, you did not implemented the auditing on your SQL Server to track the database, right? So what I could do, I could go here and it will say here, I need to go and implement under auditing. I need to turn it on. As soon as I turn it on, it my auditing destination will be secure. It will be now auditing mode. As soon as I will do that, my recommendation, my score will be increased. So that implementation has been implemented. Another is the fellow security center recommendation. Let's look over this recommendation, what it's saying. So one is a designated more than one owner of your subscription. It say I have more than one owner on my subscription. Let's go back and look here, and it's giving me 5 secure score. So my score will increase by 5. And as soon as I click it, I have same option to go to next step and implement it. Let me take a pause, guys. I'm very thirsty. So I have this access control. I could implement it role assignment. I could add and implement that security recommendation. So this I'm very impressed by this Azure Advisor tool. It gives me options about security. I don't have any option about recommendation on performance, neither on cost. Hoo-hoo. I'm super happy. I'm not paying a lot of amount for my resources. And overall, I have 7 recommendation which is impacting 4 resources. Out of these 7, 6 are high impact recommendation and 1 is the low impact recommendation. So this is the beauty of the Azure Advisor. I could download it as a PDF. I guess I already downloaded. Yeah, I could open it and I could read from here what the security is, what I need to do, what I need to implement is, and what are the potential benefit, like get notified when Azure services issue affect you or prevent potential breaches. Prevent potential security breaches. More on security breaches. One is on the my one subscription, one is on 2 subscriptions. So I'm getting a lot of information. We could download it as CSV file as well. So uh, this is about Azure Advisor. I will recommend you guys to try it. And then let's go to another tool. So another is the Azure Security Center. Azure Security Center is from a while available to us, and I think every one of us have touch base it. If you not touch base it till yet, I think this is going to be a good idea, right? I will also follow. It is nice to keep looking over your resources where you are working. If you are finding some security recommendation, take it seriously, guys. It may impact you. Uh, it will save us possible hacking, like because cloud security is different, right? It's we have complete infrastructure visibility, we have complete threat monitoring, and that's the beauty. We don't have to implement our security compliances from scratch. We could leverage ourselves from the learning pattern of the Microsoft. They have a vast resources where they are managing the resources, and they are encountering a day by day about the various hackers, team of hackers, and various security compliances. So if you are using Azure Security Center, which I'm just going to share, it's not a specific one guy or one team or couple of teams inputs. It is input from a lot of learning, lot of resources, lot of companies. They share, hey, we feel our data is have been compromised or attacked, and whenever data is compromised or attacked, we should consider it may be some teams of very expert guys like you, or it may be team of spotted by some country. That is another thing we have to consider. If a country want to access some data, they have a lot of teams, they have a lot of guys, they have resources, they have all the facilities. And to mitigate those kind of threat in real scenario, Azure Security Center is really one of the best thing I feel I could rely on. And let's look at Azure Security Center and then what they are saying. So this is the security center. It's on my left panel. If you want to use, you have also your option to write security center, and you could find it, security center. Uh, but I'm going on my left side over here. I'm clicking on security center, and then this guy will come up. It will take a while to scan my whole resources. It will give me different options. I could see here policy and compliance is my secure score is 205 out of 290. That's not too bad, I guess. Uh, uh, it means I'm taking care of my resources on cloud uh, in a better way, right? But I will also understand there are four recommendations uh, available to me, which I need to implement. We did implement one recommendation earlier. So my security not too bad. If you want to understand about your secure score, you could go over here. You could understand, okay, where you are getting what score. I'm getting 170 on under identity and access. I could increase up to 225. I'm getting 35 out of 35 in networking. Hey, hey. That's great. About data and storage, I do not have any score. That's bad. I think I really have to look at that thing. And compute and apps have zero score. So I could improve my score, and the recommendation is enable multi-factor authentication for account with owner. This is the top recommendation, which gave me 50 points. If I click over here, I have enable MFA for account and owner permission for your subscription. If I implement it, I will get 50 score, and I could implement directly from here. I have to enable multiple factor authentication where I could see, hey, these are the things I need to do, and I have to select it and add multiple factor assignment, add role assignment, and once I did role assignment, right here. So I could do deny assignment as well. I could define roles, the various roles where uh, I could specify these other roles. On a role, you could add anyone. Well, not anyone apparently, but your boss, say maybe Satya, if I'm working on Microsoft, your owner or your team on different role. But remember, guys, don't give honor permission to anyone, not to anyone. Give them contributor, reader permission. Never give anyone any permission of honor. No, that's not a good idea, not at all. So, well, here We have option to enable MFA. I'm not doing that right now because after this demo, another demo, probably I will destroy my resources, and then I could enable auditing on SQL Server. Give me a second, I'm super thirsty. And enable transparent data encryption. So if I implement all these recommendation, my score will be 290, which is the best score. And once I have kind of say 80% to 90% of score, I could say, hey, I take care of maximum security compliances or maximum recommendation. I could sleep very well, and I could look at here. This tab is very favorite tab of mine. Whenever I'm at work, I keep looking threat protection. It will say, do I have any security alert? Does someone from say Africa or Nigeria or any geographical location where nobody from my team or organization exists try to connect my resources? If I found some threat protection, it understand Azure understand that protection. It will say, okay, this is not gonna to be expected behavior, so I'm taking a pause. You validate your identity. So different patterns, different flow come into the picture. So I don't have any security alerts, and here, if you didn't start it, you could start your Azure Security Center subscription, which is free for 30 days. You could look over your coverage, what coverage you are doing, like coverage in terms of the subscription. I'm using my Visual Studio Enterprise subscription is totally covered. Um, I have defined owners and you know so you could do coverage on the basis of your subscription, basis of if you have more than one subscription, you could cover those subscription where you are exposing your resources. You have secure score, secure policy, etc. We could security hygiene implemented on data and storage, compute and apps. You could see various related and affected resources over there, and we have some security solutions as well. So another very great thing which is coming into the picture, this is on the preview, that is a playbook. You could implement it. I implemented Deepak demo for Azure Security Playbook. If some resources, some guys, some state actor, or maybe some hackers want to access my resources, how I'm gonna to be react on that? I would like some email to be sent, some notification, or completely block out, dropping that resource, deleting that resource, etc. So I have that display for demo for Azure Security, which is basically securities thing, and I could use various version, various workflow setting, and here I could add logic app, which Nick was also mentioning, what I need to do in that case of scenario, and what access key I would like to provide, what alert I need in that case. So this is in preview, but it's really a very good feature. Uh, keep looking, keep explore that feature. It's provide me log and diagnostic as well. So with that, I think I'm all set with my 40 minutes. I have uh, whatever I need to discuss today. I had discussed about Azure security. If you want to learn more about Azure security, there are a couple of channels where you could connect me. You could connect me on my website, which is deepakaushik.com. You reach over there, contact me. I'm super happy to help you with consulting, and uh, if your organization required any Azure or cloud related uh, details, I would love to discuss with you guys. Just go to my website, click contact, send me email, uh, or you could also contact me by Twitter. My Twitter handler is Think for Deepak. You could reach me over there as well. And I'm super happy to connect you guys on LinkedIn as well. So usually I'm very active on LinkedIn and Twitter. So that is my favorite area where I would love and to connect. So you could come to my website, look over various resources. I have a lot of articles you could look over in January 3, December, every month wise. You could look over articles if they are meeting your requirement, or is if that is something you want to discuss. I'm super happy to connect you guys. But if that is not what you are looking for, don't hesitate to connect me. I will love to share my 2 cents. I will love to discuss. We could plan a meeting, and we could connect. So that's what from my side. And with that, I'm passing on to my very good friend Nick over there to take me over. So thanks everyone. Hey Nick, it's up to you, my friend.
Yeah, okay. Deepak, can you stop the recording and save it and then start it again? Just so if we want to upload it, it won't be so big. But I
This conference will now be recorded.
So it's recording, my friend.
okay. Let me just start from the top. Mm. What strange slide. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Nick. I'm located in Toronto. I own a small incorporated company called SQL Data Site. Today I'm going to be working kind of on Azure Data Factory design, and it's going to be a hands-on. So I just want to thank Kaushik for a big thank you to him for basically setting up this meeting. And I want to thank other members, C Sharp Corner in Regina, Toronto, of course, Mississauga, Microsoft Mississauga, and Montreal, and SQL Data Site. About me, well, I'm a data engineer. I'm a data guy. My main focus is only data. I don't do lots of transactional data warehouse because to me it's very old. It's a little bit boring. I don't like it. I prefer new technology, hardcore data, and dealing with new approach of a combination of the cloud and sometimes on-prem. I am an SSIS guy. My background, I've been designing SSIS since I think it was 1994, if I'm not mistaken, with Visual Basic 4 or 5. I still have the code, by the way. Currently, I'm working at IBM LGS and SNC Lavalin. And again, my main focus is on big data and backend, basically. These are my information. If you and I can show the information at the end of the presentation again. The chapter founders of Toronto. I'm just going to bypass this. Let's bypass this. So today's agenda is I'll be mainly focusing on the third and the fourth item, which is how to build Azure Data Factory framework. What is and pipeline framework? What is the definition of framework? A definition of framework is as if it's a template. A template is a framework. So in lots of books, you might hear the word like SSIS framework or SSIS template. Well, technically, the right term is framework. A framework or a package framework is a package or it's a pipeline that could be reused again and again. For example, I created a package that reads an Excel file and copies it into SQL Server. So what does it do? It reads multiple Excel files and it reads each Excel file's sheet and basically inserts each sheet, assuming each sheet has data in it, into SQL Server. So wait a minute, if I create such a thing, do I need to create it again from scratch? No, I copy it. The only thing now I need to change is the metadata of the new Excel, which has more fields or less fields, and basically goes to a different SQL Server table, of course. At that point, my framework should have the destination, the source as a parameter. Source as in where the path of the Excel file is. Destination is the SQL Server name, database name, and the table. So this is a very high level of the definition of a framework. And I will be just showing a master pipeline again. I will not be talking about the ones at the bottom, which I have crossed out, which hopefully will kind of fit it into the next sessions. Your requirement is definitely Azure Data Factory v2 and Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer in this presentation. You do not need Visual Studio or Azure tools or anything else. And of course, you need Azure Blob Storage account. So what is Azure Data Factory? Very simple. It's an ETL tool in the cloud. But it's at the service level. What do I mean by what's the difference between if it's an ETL or ELT tool? What's the difference between Azure Data Factory and SSIS? Well, they're big difference. You should not compare them to each other. I see people comparing them and they're saying, oh, you know, SSIS has this feature, Azure Data Factory doesn't have that feature, and so on and so forth. Well, first of all, Azure Data Factory is not mature enough. Second of all, it's a different beast. So to my eyes, you can't compare them. I'll give you one example. Azure Data Factory behind the scene has Databricks clustering. What does this mean? Just imagine I'm moving data from point A to point B with SSIS. Well, technically I have my RAM and my, SSIS uses RAM and that's it. It uses one machine, one RAM, and that's it. But Azure Data Factory uses multiple RAM, or basically multiple nodes or multiple computers to basically push data around. So you cannot compare multiple computers and multiple processing, and these are different beasts. So I never compare these two together. So my goal is basically this is my goal for the entire team. If you want to be a good designer in the cloud, you have to think differently. You have to change. I'll give you one simple example. Here's the third item is you have to learn from scratch these days. Let's pick a table. How do you create a SQL Server table? You say create table, and then you put field A, like first name, and varchar. I'm just going to say it in pseudocode. First name string, last name string, date of birth, dates, and so on and so forth. Well, you can't do this anymore. You cannot think like that because now your data is going to sit in multiple environment, multiple nodes, multiple CPU. I'll give you a good example, another good example. Everyone loves identity. Identity, you say, hey, I have a clients table and I'm going to put an identity on it, 1, 2, 3, 4. I just want an internal ID number, nothing to do with the client. This is a design. This is a technical design. For simplicity, everyone does that. Well, guess what? And the numbers are sequence. Guess what? Now it's on 5 different computers. There is no sequence anymore. So you have to think differently. You cannot do what you were doing. If you're a manager, you are going to say, hey, I used to make an ETL or an SSIS in 1 day or 2 days. Now it's going to take you way, way more than that. Way, way more than that. Why do I say think differently? Think as if you're really working for Google. You might say, why? Because now you're dealing with billions of records. There is no million. And sometimes when I see in companies, they have a billion record and the table is narrow, I just say, hey, this is peanuts. And they're like, no, we have a billion record. I said, yeah, I know, but it's still peanuts. So, but if you're working at Google, they're dealing with trillions and trillions a day. So if I'm dealing with a trillion record a day and I want to do a left join, does Google do a left join in creating reports? Well, the answer is no. They do not do this kind of joins. The data has to be in a way that could be read instantly or aggregated. No left joins, no right joins. In some cases, not even a basic inner join. And another reason is, which I'm going to leave this to you guys. What's the difference between inner join and inner loop join? I'm not going to answer this question. My point is, look at it differently. Change the way you're working. So the question is, what is the difference between inner join and inner loop join? Hopefully, some people will go around and find out what it is. Okay, next. How to build the Azure Data Factory. So we're just going to start right now. So you have to be extremely organized. If you're dealing with 1,000, 2,000 pipelines, and these pipelines has lots of similarities, if you make one mistake in one of them, or if you have a bug, you have a bug in 1,000 frameworks. So how are you going to fix this? This happens a lot. Trust me, it happens a lot. And how could you bypass this? How could you write a tool when you're dealing with thousands of pipelines? You better design a tool that tracks your work, that understands the changes you've made, or how to go inside a pipeline and inject a new activity. This is something you might say, why would I want to inject a new activity? Well, Microsoft, as times go by, adds new features. Let's say event error handling will come soon. They don't have an internal event error handling like SSIS has. But once it comes around, how are you going to fix 1,000 pipelines? It's going to be very difficult. The only way is through PowerShell.NET Go. Naming convention is extremely critical. Reusability is extremely critical. And look at the consistency that I have in this screenshot. You see order lines, I have order lines. So definitely in the order lines, I have a pipeline called order lines. I have a pipeline here called order. So if I have a bug in one, I can easily go and basically tell someone, hey, there's a bug in order line. So he will find all the names all over the map with the same naming, whether it's a data set, whether it's a connection object, whether it's a pipeline, and so on and so forth. Okay, if I'm going fast, please someone I cannot see the chat section, but if I'm going too fast, someone please tell me. So we're going one step deeper. So this is the pipeline. So I'm just going to go back to the previous. I don't know what happened. Okay. Now here, I'm just going to open one of these and go a little bit deeper. So this is a framework that I created, and it's a text to CSV. It creates a text to CSV. It's not a very good or advanced, but it provides you a variety of spices for you to get the point. If you see, the folders have the same name. The pipeline, the main pipeline, has the same name as the folder. Same thing goes all the way down here. You might say, hey, okay, fine. Why there's so many names, the same name being repeated? Well, it's very easy to track, very easy to trace. And wait a minute. If I have a JSON code of this, and I put it into Notepad, I can easily say rename framework text to CSV to, I don't know, let's say client, because I have a client as a text file, and I want to convert it to a CSV. Let's say I have a payment text file and I want to convert it to CSV, and so on and so forth. In this case, it's a text to CSV. Technically, a better example should be text to SQL. Okay? But anyway, the goal is to show you the consistency of the naming convention all the way and make it simple. So in my previous screen, this is the goal, is to keep the consistency of your framework in your design. Sorry, I just, yeah. Okay, it's on my next presentation. Okay. So as you can see, you know, the storage, they have the same prefix, they have the same postfix naming, and so on and so forth. So building an Azure Data Factory, the final goal is at the bottom is how could you create something very good that you can hand it over to a junior person? How could you create a data factory that if something goes wrong or you need to make massive changes, in this case, I've written it here on the third item at the bottom, third item at the bottom. How could you make those changes real quick and hand it over to someone junior? This is a good design when you're dealing with hundreds and hundreds or maybe thousands of data factories. Definitely proof of concept. Definitely categorize your data factory. For example, I'm going to categorize a data factory that does the business, for example, payments and so on and so forth, and categorize another data factory that gets zip file and unzips it. So I got two data factories separately. Each one may have multiple pipelines, but one is business and one is non-business. For each one, try to create a framework. So for a zip file, when you do a framework, it's technically done, you know. But for a business, try to create a framework that could be reused again. So that's why the second item says profiling, profiling, profiling. The more you do profiling, the more you understand your data, the easier your pipeline design or data factory design is going to be. Definitely thinking about reusability and documentation, so you can hand it over to someone junior without them coming back to you. I'll give you at the end, I've written cursor story. So there's a story that one of the team there say, hey, we don't understand your design. This is too complicated. I said, did you guys read the documentation? So in the documentation, I show them screenshots on where to put the cursor, where to do a cut and paste, and how to rename it. So they were not reading your documentation. So don't forget about documentation. Variety of frameworks. So we said framework is a template. So I should create a template for text to CSV. I should create another template, maybe text to CSV that has an Azure Data Factory and an Azure Databricks, if I have Databricks according to my architect requirement. So what I'm trying to say here, hey, because you created one text to CSV, it doesn't mean, okay, you're done. No, it could be other components or other services like Azure Databricks, because I categorized my CSV into two sections. One is a simple, dirt simple ones, and one is complicated ones that requires Azure Databricks. Same thing to Azure, text to Azure SQL Data Warehouse. And you will need other pipelines like do a copy only, do a delete only, do an archive only. You get my point? So these could be global pipelines. You know, I call a pipeline and say, here's the file, here's the source, this is the destination, do a copy. So I don't need to create a copy item in all of my pipelines. No, I can create one and everyone can use that one. Again, you have to see what your design is. You have to understand your profiling of your data. There's so many factors. You may not, in this screenshot, you may only use the first one on the top, and none of the at the bottom will be used ever at all. Okay. And of course, you need a master pipeline to conduct all of the rest of the pipelines for you. There's two ways to design pipelines. Now we're going a little bit yeah, we're going to the pipeline at the pipeline level. So there's two ways to design it. One is from top to bottom, or high level to low level, and one is from low level to high level. Depends how complex it is. Sometimes starting from a lower level to a higher level, it's easy. I'll give you an example. Let's start with a higher level to a lower level. Let's say I want to read some text files and copy them to a different destination. So from a high level, I'm going to get the list of text files. This is a good example. Get text files. And in this for each loop, I'm going to move them each one to a different destination folder, one by one, very high level. But the copy is in the for loop, okay? Now, another scenario is, let's say I have to unzip the files and find out what zip files have what internal files. So I need to start from a lower level. It means I don't need to loop. I don't need to get the list. I just need to get one file, do an unzip, see if it works, and then put it in this for each loop that you see on the top. So I'm going to repeat it one more time. So there's two ways. One from top to bottom, one is from bottom to top. The top to bottom is a simple scenario is copy. So I'm going to get the list of the text files, and I'm going to loop them one by one, and I'm going to copy them to a destination. Finish, done. Sometimes it's complicated. So scenario number two, or example number two, sorry, is I have a zip file. I need to unzip it. I have to know what kind of how many files it has, and I want to save it into a SQL table and so on. So I do this with one zip file. Once I'm done, I make it parameterized and I put it into the for loop. Oops, sorry about that. And I put it in the for loop. Okay, and which I'm going to show you both of them today. So let's do a design step by step. This is basically, I'm trying to show you the tricks that I do in very high level. So I create a pipeline, and the pipeline cannot be empty. And I put a, wait as a test, and I run it, test it, it works perfect. Next step, and I save it, of course. Next step, I bring, something that I need. I need to copy something, text to CSV destination. I run it, test it, then I can get rid of the wait. Then after that, maybe I need to delete something. So what I'm trying to say, hey, don't boil the ocean. Don't jump into, bring all the features and component activities. It's very complicated in the beginning for you to trace down what is going wrong and what is not. And hopefully today, something minor might go wrong and we would be able to solve it today real quick. Okay? And then, as time goes by, you can expand it. Sometimes I do tricks. I put a store procedure that doesn't insert into a dummy table so I can see, oh, does my store procedure works? And then maybe that store procedure goes into a different execution pipeline and it works over there. Okay? So this is my tricks, the way I basically grow my pipeline design or data factories. And finally, a master pipeline. So I've designed my pipelines. I design, orders, order lines, or, payments, whatever you want to call it. And the master pipeline is going to conduct the other pipelines. So here I have 5 pipelines, and the sequence kind of okay. You can see parallelism here. You can see dependencies and sequence call. So, but there's something wrong with this, and I did this on purpose. Stock items are dependent to cities, so technically this is wrong. I did it on purpose to say, hey, if you get these wrong, there will be lots of mistakes, but each one should work independently. The other thing is stock items depend on city. So again, you have to check your tables, your destination tables, or however these data are moving. and stock and orders depends on stock items. So that's technically it should be like this. And if it is, this will be just a sequence call, no parallelism. Okay. But I can do something else. I can make two master framework, one the blue one and one the green one. Run the blue one first and run the green one next. So at that point, I can have a little bit of I can differentiate my work. Remember, the best practice is to have 10 pipelines per Azure. When I mean 10 pipelines, I mean 10 business pipelines related. You might have other pipelines for your purposes, like copy, unzip, and so on. I don't count them because they're not much, but this is the best practice that you can have per Azure Data Factory. Okay, so I'm going to start the demo. Before I do, any questions? Any questions before we start? No questions? Just give me a second. I want to say, okay. Okay, so no questions. I'm going to start. I'm going to start from here. So I got lots of things kind of ready for you, but I will be doing them from scratch, and I will be cheating a little bit just because I want to make sure everything is working. So long story short is I have a blob storage and basically a storage account, my mistake, a storage, and within this storage account, I have a blob storage. So I put both of the links here. So technically this blob service is within this 01 demo. I put them side by side so it's visible. And I have a data factory here that does the magic, basically. Some of you might say, hey, wait a minute, what the hell is this? We've never seen this icon. And this is the true storage account. Well, they're both are technically. They have a different nature. One is hot and one is cold. I just want to say, hey, I use the cold one on purpose. So you can see, hey, there is no dependency. Plus, I see lots of people using the hot one online. So I said, hey, let me try something else for demo purposes. So I've got the screen, I've got the sheets ready here. So if I click on this, it's going to lead me here. You can see demo 1. I have the blob. So what is this blob? This blob is this guy. I just want to make sure. So within this blob, if I click here, I have, this is blob. I have this folder, and this folder. So I have 3 folders sitting there. So now there's another tool called Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer. You just connect as a kind of a user using this option, and then you can see, look, if you remember, I had 01 and 02. Some of you might say, hey, wait a minute, the icons are here the same and over there they're not. Well, unfortunately, yes. But what is the real difference? If you look at here, cool. If I click here, it's a hot, and this one is a cool. Okay. So I'm using this cool version. What do I have? I have a blob container, and my blob container has the clean, raw, and the zip. I just double click on each one of them, and I have them ready here sitting. I have the zip, which has got 3 zip files. I have the raw, which has some files here, and it's got a README file that has nothing to do with the client. Okay, basically I'm trying to say, hey, I have an extra garbage file sitting there, and how could I get rid of it, or how can I ignore it? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to read these files from the client and basically, I don't know, process them. Okay, so scenario number 1, read the clients, read the CSV files, and how we can basically go back and forward with them. So this is the data factory. So when you create a data factory, which this is the name of my data factory. When you click on this, the data factory opens. Again, I have everything sitting in the memory. I don't want to waste time. but I will be doing this from scratch right now. I have my connection objects. So I've got one connection to clean, one to raw, one to unzip. Again, I want to show you this. One to clean, one to raw, one to zip. Did I name this unzip? Okay, so that's a bad name. It should be called zip, not unzip. But anyway. So the pipelines. Remember I said the folders. So I have a client and I have general pipelines. General pipelines is copy, move, unzip, something that are you gonna, or global pipelines, name it whatever you like. This is something you're gonna have in every single data factory, okay? And I've got, in this data factory, I've got the client information and client insurance. As you can see, this is an Azure data factory related to a company called ABC Insurance. And I don't know, I just don't know why I came up with this name, but it's called Atlas, okay? So I have the client. Let's open up the client and see what the client has. Oh, the client gets the list of the client files, filters some of them out, which basically ignores the README file, and then loops through them one by one. This is what I'm going to create right now, okay? And in the loop, guess what? I'm calling another pipeline. Who am I calling? I'm calling this guy. So at this point, I'm calling another pipeline, and I'm passing the right parameters to it, okay? So one more time, I'm just gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna read the text files, read the CSV files, ignore the ones that I don't want, and basically loop through them one by one, okay? I'm not gonna copy them, I'm not gonna delete them or do anything. I just wanna show you that from top to bottom, I said there's two ways, top to bottom and from top to bottom, how I design. Okay, so let's start. Everyone's ready? Can someone confirm at least? Hello? Someone
Ready,
confirm.
Nick.
Yeah.
Let me jump.
Yeah.
You ask about pasting. So we have a lot of message, and I think you could not see that.
Yeah.
So Jason said he's from Milan and DBA by profession. Peter said he's from Montreal and cloud dev.
Yeah, I saw them. I'm reading them. I just saw them.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. And I have more than 25 messages. 25 guys are saying we are unable to join, and I just tweet about that. So in between, that's what I'm sharing them on message. I don't know what the heck is, because if we have already 7 guys from North America and Europe, so I'm just typing those answer. I tweeted as well. This is the URL. I don't know. They have right URL. They are waiting in their. They send me the screenshot, and in their screenshot they are waiting for starting this meeting. I don't know what the heck is going on, but being said that, probably I said, okay, recording will be available for you guys.
Okay.
And yeah, so is going. So that's what I shared. So is going on, and Nick is rocking that stage. I'm really learning a lot of stuff, and the good thing is that you also saw the message. So what I got the sense, maximum guys are working in Azure, and seems they are quite experienced as well.
Good. Okay, so I always prefer to show the end result first and then say, okay, let's see. So I'm gonna run this. I'm gonna run this, and basically it's gonna run. And here I'm gonna see the output, and basically it gives me kind of a tracing list. Unfortunately, you have to click here to refresh yourself. So right now it's reading from somewhere. We don't know where, but it's doing some things. And basically it's reading the files, filtering them, calling them one by one, or basically calling another pipeline that does some kind of magic. I just called it copy file. In the copy file, which I'm going to show you, I am not copying anything. I just say wait for, I don't know, 2 seconds, something like that. Wait for 3 seconds. So the copy, I did not do it on purpose. It's just to show you how I'm passing parameters to it. But anyway, I'm sure you guys got the point. So first step is, what is this? So what did I pass to it? I passed a folder, if you see raw files client, let's go here, raw files client. So it got this path basically. Okay, what's the output of it? The output is it's file 2001, 2002, and the README file text. So I've got the three files. Again, I'm going to show it to you, 1, 2, 3. And finally, next step is the filter. So now this guy kicks in. Of course, we don't need this part. We need this one. So it says it processed 3 items, but the filter is only, the output is only 2. I've got 2001. Oh, the README file is being excluded. Okay, and the for loop basically, oh, sorry, I should be in here. And the for loop just call these 2 pipelines, which is basically the copy. So what did they pass to it? Oh, very interesting. It passed the path and file number 2. Again, it passed, sorry, I think I pressed the wrong one. File number 1, my bad. It passed the path and file number 1. And this one, it passed the path, same path, file number 2. So, and it called this copy pipeline twice. And basically, I did not pass the README file because it got filtered out. Okay, so we're going to design this real quick. If anyone doesn't want this, or you guys have any plans, different things that you want me to do, I'll be more than happy. But you can basically stop me and ask any questions anytime you like. So let's start. I am not going to create the storage. The storage are default. The goal is Azure Data Factory. I will be cheating a little bit to extract the names, so we're close enough. I don't want to make a mess. I don't want to make a big mess out of it. Okay, so let's start. First thing is Azure Data Factory. So I'm going to say you can go to all services. Let's do it. Let's do it this way. You can go to, oops, sorry, create. You can go into integration, Azure Data Factory. And I'm going to use the same name of the previous Azure Data Factory because I am very, very lazy. Okay. Azure Data Factory, I'm going to give this name to it, but I'm going to say Azure Data Atlas number 2. I need a free trial. I'm going to use the existing. Again, usually I don't do this as a demo. And heads up, you need to use V2, not V1. Eastern US 2 is cheaper. Basically, I have a limitation. I think I can show it here if I'm not. Okay, let's ignore that. But I have a limitation in paying, basically. I have a limitation from a demo perspective, and I don't want to go over the amount of money that I have, which is, I don't know, 200 and something a month. Okay, so I want to pin this, so it's going to sit here. So this is the number 2, which we are basically creating. Let's go in it. I'm going to go inside. So I'm going to drag this all the way down here. So just to compare apples, hopefully with apples. So this is the old one, and this is the new one that I'm going to have. Okay. So while that is creating, I'm going to go to the connection. I'm going to see, oh, I've got 1, 2, 3 connections. I'm just going to do the clean. Let me just be specific. I'm going to do the raw. I'm going to do this one. Again, I'm going to nick the names. If I can do that, I don't remember. I can copy from here. Yes, I can. Okay. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to connections, new connection, because my source is a blob. Continue. Of course, definitely don't forget the description. It's a lot of help. Trust me, when you're dealing with hundreds and hundreds of connections. I'm going to use a free trial, and we said our data is sitting in the demo. Okay, test. Finish with that. Okay, some of you might say, hey Nick, we check your code and you are not, not all of your connection objects are being used. Yes, you're right. The reason is sometimes I bring more connection objects because Microsoft is going to release new features and I know what the features are. Let me just say this is zip. Zip the info. So I try to bring more connection objects. So in the future, when I wanna, flip my connection objects, I can easily do it. Okay. So right now I have my 2 connection objects. I'm gonna start the pipeline. So while that is creating, we'll go here. So I created this. I'm gonna create the client pipeline, which is this. Okay. I'm gonna close this. Get the client ready. Okay. So this is ready. Pipeline number 1. I'm gonna create a folder, client, and guess what? In my data set, I need a client too. Add a folder called client. If I have any misspelling, please forgive me. I'm just trying to do it as fast as possible. Naming convention extremely critical. Now, again, don't forget the description, please. You must have a description. I need 2 parameters. Let's check the parameters. I want to pick up the same name so I won't be wasting time. So, well, in this scenario, I gave 1. Okay. So parameter number 1, and I want to save time again. I want the name here. So I created 1 parameter. Where is it pointing to? Raw. Okay. I want to test it. Remember I said I put a weight. Oops, sorry. I put a weight, publish all, I'm done. It should work. Now I may get an error because this folder is empty. I don't remember. If I do, I have to delete it. But even this folder is empty. But I'm gonna push this to a new folder. Well, it didn't give me an error. Okay, fine. I'm gonna publish it one more time because I moved it to a different folder. Let's just run it and see what happens. So while you're running it, you have to click on the white section to see the output. If you click on the object, you'll see the object property. So make sure you click on the white section, the output. And of course, unfortunately, you have to click refresh yourself to see it. So, oh, it worked. So no problem. It waited for 1 second. I'm happy. Okay. Now I'm going to start working. So I'm going to say get metadata. Okay. So it's a get metadata. Get file list. Sorry, I want to keep the same name. The reason is there's lots of code behind the scene and I don't want to retype them. Okay. So get all file names is getting the list of all the files, but it needs a data set. Data set is like a record set. So people who know .NET code, you have a connection object, you need a record set, and the data set plays a role of the record set. So I don't have one, so I'm going to create one. So I can create it either from here or I can go, let me just cancel this. Or I can go from here and create one and then come back here and select it here. So I'll do it from here once instead of doing it from here. So I can say, hey, I need I need a data set. Again, I'm gonna a data set that connects to a data blob storage. And again, I'm gonna go back and copy and cheat and get the name from here. Sorry about that. The reason is I do not want to waste time in debugging things. So, okay, so what is a connection? So let's connect it to the right environment. So it's gonna connect to the raw files. Let's just check the raw files one more time. This is the raw data files. So wait a minute. Oops, sorry. My mistake. So wait a minute. This is the connection, but the path is wrong. And do I need a file name or not? So there is no path. So the path is wrong. So how could I fix the path? And if I can use this globally, how can I change it? If it's possible, which is not in this case, how could I pass a, so I need a parameter for it. So I'm going to go there again. I want to save time. I'll need, so I will tell you what the parameters are once we're done. It's a string. And again, I'm copying the same path where the client is, because if you look, this is the client's name and I'm dealing with the client. Okay, so back to the connection object. So I have defined the parameters for this data set. Let me just copy it in the right folder. Let me just open these so you guys can see it. But I need the parameter to point here. So if I click here, it says add dynamic content. So the parameter that I just created is this. DS stands for dataset, PR parameter, and it's a file path. When I click here, it goes up here, finished, and boom, it's sitting there. Do I need the file name? The answer is no, because I want it to go and run after the files one by one. So I'm just saying, hey, just give me the list of the files. I am not focusing on a specific file. So I don't need to pass this as a parameter, okay? Just to double check my work here, you can see I've set the file and the file has nothing in it and it's on the raw, okay? So I'm gonna just publish, just make sure everything is working. It gives me an error and I know what the error is gm get all data file, which is this one. It says one is required and that one is this. So back to the data set. I just created a data set with a parameter. Wait a minute. My main client did it have a parameter? Let's check it again. Yes, it did. And it's called pipeline parameter and the parameter name, and this is it. So if I go back here, this is basically hard-coded, so that's not good. Or it's not centralized. It's not coming through a parameter. So if I want to change the folder, I have to go and change it in the parameter and here. So that's not a good practice. So I'm going to reference them so they become centralized. Guess what? This is PL. This one, PL, parameter. So this is the parameter from the client, not from the dataset. Okay. So I just passed to this dataset this parameter, which is defined at the high level of the pipeline. Let's do a save. If you remember, I had an error. I'm going to run it. It worked, hopefully. A couple of seconds. Just close this. It worked. Good. So let's run it. I'm going to debug it and run it. Again, unfortunately, you have to click refresh again here. So it did run, no problem. Let's see what happened. What did I pass to it? I passed this parameter, which is very clear. Okay, no problem. But what did it give me? What did it give me as an output? It didn't give me what I was looking for. So I've missed something, but it worked. And these are strange names. So let's go back to the metadata and go to the data set. So it says field list. What kind of field list do I want? Number one, I need the child item. The child item is the information within that folder. Next one, I need the exists. Next one, item name, item type. You know, item type, it's like, is it a folder or a file? Last modified is last modified. Basically, all the information here, last modified, item the name and the item type, you don't have it here, but the type is content type here, but which is the item type in somewhere else. Okay, now I'm gonna rerun it again, which hopefully it's gonna publish and save it again at the same time. Again, I'm gonna press refresh. Come on. So let's check the output. Oh, I have 2001, 2002, and the README. Where are they? They're under the child item. So look at this child items, okay? Let's go back here. Child items. So this is kind of an array of the files within that folder, which is this one here, or that path that we passed. So are we happy? Any questions up to this point? If there's any questions, can someone? Any questions, guys? Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next. So let's do a filter. Filter. Again, I'm gonna cheat, get the right name. I don't want to waste time. Now, one thing I just saw in the name that I am skipping the description that I have here, but please definitely description or basically documentation is extremely critical. Okay, so here let's go to the settings of the filter. It says give me the items. So what is the items? Usually the items is the name of the items coming from here to here. If you remember when we were checking, but what are the items? What is the object name here? I don't know. So if I go back and I click here, it's called child items. Again, to save time, I'm going to go back here and show it to you from here. If you look, the activity here, dot output, the output goes to this step, right? Dot child items. I just want to show it to you like this, child items. So let's do it over here. I'm going to go here. I'm going to say at activity.output.child items. I don't know. Hopefully it's right. Yeah, it's right. Now, this just got all the list of the metadata. Okay, so what? So now you need to filter it. You need to get rid of the README file if you remember, or in a very simple way, you need anything that starts with the word client.csv or the CSV only. It depends how you want to filter it. Again, I just want to save time. I want to copy this and I will explain it once we come back, okay? So I'm gonna look for anything string that ends with what? So wait a minute. First of all, what should be the string that's coming in the file name or so I'm gonna put the second part first. I'm gonna say anything that ends with .csv. But now I need the activity information from GM get all file names. To make my life easy, I'm just gonna bring it here for you guys to see, hey, the item.name. So anything that from here comes to here, it has an item. What is the item? Is the previous, it's the item, sorry, it's the item that's being listed in the filter. So the question is, where is this or what is this? We know what this is. We're saying anything that ends with this, but where's the item? So I'm gonna click finish and let's go. This is the items. So this gets the array of this and passes them one by one with a name to here. So how did I know it's a dot name? Well, the child items has a dot name in it. If I'm not mistaken, here it is, child. It has a dot name. So if I pass this, or technically to be more specific, all of this as an object and call it item, so item dot name, guess what? Is this one, item dot name. You can pass this dynamically as well through the parameter, which I'm not going to do here in this demo. So let's just run it. Hopefully everything's working. Again, I want to save time. I don't want any errors to happen. So I passed this. Let's check it one more time. I'm not going to check this. So 2001, 2002, we're in README file. Good. And the filter. So let's open up the filter. It got 3 items and the filter 2. So 2001. Oh, good. Perfect. So I got rid of the README file. Excuse me. I got rid of the README file. So as you can see, I am spoon feeding my pipeline step by step to make sure it's working. And by the way, definitely remember valid all is basically saves your work. So what I see in lots of developers, they drag and drop 10 items and they want to bundle. I said, hey, it doesn't work like that. You have to draw it on a piece of paper first and then start bringing them in one by one. You need proof of concept, you need test, stress test. There's lots of other factors involved, but here right now I'm looking from a development perspective and to show you how I can do this as fast as possible. So next step is for each. So now I'm going to loop the files. Again, I'm going to cheat. I want the same naming convention because so the for needs information from one of these two. So it's going to get its information from here. The reason is this is filtered. We don't want to pass this information to this, although we could, but it doesn't make sense. Another thing is if you want to line this up, you can click on this and then, oops. Sometimes you might lose it, so you have to press. Well, the for loop is not ready yet. Let me just go. Yeah, here. Anyway, if you press this, it'll just line things up for you, okay? So the for loop needs one settings. As you can see with the red line there, it means I missed something. So it says, where are the items here? The items are going to come through here. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to go all the way down. As you can see, it says output. And I'm going to click finished. Validate all. Oh, and by the way, the for loop needs minimum 1 activity, and I'm going to put wait. Let's put wait 4 seconds, so it's more clear. Now I'm going to validate. I'm just going to wait for this to clear. While we're doing that, I'm just going to go back and explain to you what I have. So in this, I put a wait in my Azure Data Factory, but we're going to use the copy in the future, okay? So this got published. I'm going to run it to see if it's working. Again, each activity, each step you bring in, you have to set it up. So technically, if this works, I need to loop this twice, and it should be one for CSV 2001 and CSV 2002. The client failed, and the reason is, sorry, I just want to, no, this is not it, sorry. I think it's the for loop activities. Dot value. I missed the dot value. So if I go here, and say output dot value. My bad, I missed this part. I'm gonna fire it off again. Click refresh, and it all works. So what did I pass here? I didn't pass anything. So I don't know which file did it pick. How would I know? So there are ways to find out, but again, I'm putting myself as a developer and I want to see how I can, expand this. So let's create a copy. So I'm going to say pipeline. I forgot the name, general pipeline. Okay. I'm going to create a pipeline and I'm going to call it PL copy. And in this, I'm going to put the weight here. And I'm going to give it like 3 seconds. Okay. Assuming this is a copy and it's not a weight, but a weight, I'm going to say this is a copy. And the other thing is what we need is a folder called general pipeline. Pipelines. Okay. So the copy goes in here. So I'm just going to go back to the client, go here, and this did work, right? I'm going to delete this and I'm going to say execute a pipeline for me. Execute execute pipeline, call copy pipeline. Okay. If you guys see any misspelling, please forgive me. I'm just trying to get the ball rolling as fast as possible. So now I just copied and I'm calling another pipeline. So this guy is calling this guy through this one. So let's basically let's go back to the client and rerun it again one more time and see if we can see the file names or not. So as you can see, it's executing. So what are the parameters that we passed? Nothing. So I've missed something. Well, technically I haven't missed it. I did it on purpose to show you, hey, again, we're back to square one. We just called it, but we didn't pass the files to it. So let's go back. The thing is, the reason I want to do this is I want to save time. Here, the copy has some parameters, and one of them is file name and file path. So I'm going to bring that file name, parameters, and file path. Okay. Again, I'm going to bring these names from the previous place. So my copy is getting parameters, but my client, while it was calling the copy, did not set the parameters correctly. So let's set those correctly. So back to here, I say, give me advanced. I say, give me all the parameters related to this copy. It just gave me all the parameters, but there's a problem with it. I have just hard coded again. So on loop 1, this is what I'm going to pass. On loop 2, I'm going to pass this again. So this is wrong. So let's fix the path first. The path, where's the path? So if you go back to the client here, and I click here and go to the parameters, guess what? The path is here as a parameter. So what I'm trying to say is centralize your parameters. So if I change these, everywhere will get changed. Okay, so that's the goal. Change it one place, everywhere else will get changed. Okay, so I'm gonna go back here, go to the settings, go to advanced. Again, we're gonna fix the path first, and I'm gonna say this is the path from the parameters, right? And finished. So we fixed the first problem. Second problem is the file name, because on each loop the file name changes, right? But wait a minute, how could I do this? Or who is gonna pass me the right parameter? So let's just go and fish around and see if we can find something that's close enough to. I'm just gonna minimize this. So it tells me there's an output from the get list, which I don't want. There's an output from here, which I don't want. I don't want the parameter. So where's the file name? So we're missing the file name. Or basically, who has the list of the file names? Well, guess what? It's the for loop. The for loop has the file name. So again, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go to the for loop in my client. I just don't want to type. I want to go to the advanced and says, oh, at item name dot name. Who's the item name? It's the for loop dot name. If you remember in the debugging, it's you pass the array and dot name. So this is at item name. Oh, sorry. Item dot name. Did I type it correctly? Yeah, item. Yeah, sometimes items. It's validated. Finish. I'm gonna validate it just to make sure it's correct. I'm gonna publish it. Basically I'm saving it. So the copy. Now, one thing you have to make sure is run the copy, because the copy can run by itself because it has its own hard-coded parameters to be able to work, right? I can run this separately, but I know it's going to work. I'm not going to test it. I'm going to go directly to the client, and the client is going to call the copy, okay? So I'm at the client level. I'm going to trigger this off. Oops, sorry, I'm going to debug this, my bad. Now it's taking 3 seconds, or was it 5 seconds? I don't remember, but anyway, it's all done. So up to this point, up to the for each loop, I'm not going to trace it. And let's see, when I call the copy pipeline, what did I pass to it? Oh, wow, I passed as a parameter 2001 and the folder. That's good. And I call the pipeline again. I just want to show it to you. I call this one again for the second time with pipeline number 2. Ta-da! Okay, we're done, guys. We are done. So this is finished. Now, before I move to the next example, what time is it? Just want the time. Ooh. So the next example, I don't think we have time for the next example, but I'm going to go directly in with what I have and show it to you directly. So any questions on this part? No questions? Okay, so I'm going to go directly to the next example. The next example, I won't make it from scratch. I'm just going to run it as I have. So then my next example is almost the same. So I have an unzip. I'm going to open it up. Guess what? The unzip is 100% identical with the client. But number one, it has a different path. It doesn't have the same path. Number two, the data source has some differences. There's some differences. The data source, once it reads the file name and it doesn't zip file, it identifies it's a zip file. So it's got a little bit extra settings. Remember on this, I said, hey, I don't want to know what file it is. This is the client. But in this one, I do want to know what it is. Okay? So back to the, so if you remember in my presentation, I was talking about reusability. Guess what? If you name this perfectly, look, I said get all file names. In the description, say, hey, this one is for zip files. You don't have to rename these objects again. I have made some minor hiccup in naming convention. Here's a good example, raw data files. I should have said source data files, as in what source? So is it source zip, source clean, source raw, source what? But it describes, hey, this is the beginning point. What's the action, which is going to be zip, unzip, or I don't know, copy or whatever, or archiving. That's a different thing. You can write that in the description. But anyway, let's continue. So the same, but what is in the for loop? I'm calling a pipeline. Which pipeline am I calling? So it's the same thing. I'm not going to explain this. I'm calling an unzip pipeline with the same parameters. So let's check the unzip. What does the unzip do? If you remember, let me just bring this here. The copy, we put a wait. We just said, hey, let's trick the system to save time. In this, say, I have something called copy data, and it's copy data unzip file. So wait a minute, this is wrong. It sounds wrong. It doesn't sound. Well, unfortunately, the naming convention they selected, I don't know. I don't like it. Copy data means copy, not unzip. If you want to have an object that doesn't unzipping, you should call it unzip. But Microsoft has combined them both together. I'm sure they have a good reason, but I have to find a reason, and I hope they're going to convince me why did they did that. But anyway, so what does this do? It says go to the source, and what is the source? Is the unzip. And if you remember, the unzip has to know what file it is to do the unzip. And the destination is the raw data file. So it's the raw data file. So this is a folder. So basically what I'm trying to say, it gets a file, it pushes it, unzips it to a folder. And this is the path. I'm just going to go and run it for you guys to see. So if I go here, raw files, in the unzip, I have 1, 2, 3 zip files. I'm going to click refresh just to make sure I got 3 zip files. And in here, was it clean folder? Sorry, I just want to make sure what folder it is. So, okay, I'll just do 2 refreshes. We're almost at the end. I'm going to finish it less than 5 minutes. I'll be done. So I'm just going to go the unzip. I'm going to go here. I'm going to run it. So what it does, it goes to the same zip file path. It picks each zip file one by one, and it unzips them to a destination. Okay. There is no wait time for this. It takes time because it doesn't unzip, and it does some kind of checking. Okay, the first unzip is done. So if I go here and I say refresh, or was it the clean? I don't remember which folder it was. Oh, it's here, same. So as you can see, it's unzipped. It's unzipped the files. The third one is going to come. I'm going to click refresh because it takes a little bit of time. Oh, there you go. So it unzipped all these in the same path. I'm going to open up this one. So it got 2 files in it. So if I go and unzip this on my desktop, I can see 2 files in it. This one has only 1 file. I know because I did it on purpose. And this one has only 1 file, 2001, again on. So this was my demo. What I did, I'm just going to wrap it up, is I created a framework. I use it to do, I don't know, copy files, and I use the same thing to do unzip files. You can use the same thing for insurance. In this case, it's empty. I didn't do anything. I just put something dummy, so because you can't have it empty. So try to reuse your components, your features, your activities, your data sets over and over and again. Do not make hundreds of data sets. Do not make don't go crazy. My point is, try to have a consistency and a limitation so you can hand it over to a different team, so you can move on and basically be more productive and come up with new ideas, hopefully. So this is it. I just want to thank you. Thank you, everyone. I want to thank the C# Corner from Toronto, Regina, and everyone else that's participated in this meeting. Okay, back to you. Hello.
Thanks to Nick. It indeed a wonderful session with hands-on training, and we did a very beautiful demo. Personally, I feel I learned a lot of things. Definitely, I'm looking forward to learn more. I was not aware in webinar such a pure, absolute Azure Data Factory things today, which we have discussed. Many thanks for such a wonderful presentation, Nick. I think what getting the sense from different guys as well. It indeed a great learning. It's not about presenting the things which already have. It's really one of the great presentation today, and we are looking forward for having you again. So that said, like we are almost on time, 2 minutes, and I would like to thanks all the attendees who joined. I got almost 25 messages. Something is going with some guys could not join, so I tweeted it. I said, hey, we have already started the meeting. I don't know what's wrong at specific location, but we have videos recording as shared. So we will share it on my website, CSAP Corner, Nick will share. So you will get the link. So stay tuned on either of platform. We will tweet it once we will upload it, and it will not take another like more than 2 3 days. Mid of week is somewhere turnaround time will be. And that being said, thanks everyone to join today, and thanks Nick to present today on Saskatchewan CSAP Corner chapter. Appreciated. We learn a lot. Definitely, I will watch your video because in between I'm tweeting, giving reply, and thanks everyone. Over to you, Nick.
Thank you very much. Hopefully, the sooner the better, so everyone else can see it. And I'll be more than happy to represent this again with hopefully more questions. But the reason, the next thing that I want to do, if there is no, if they don't want me to represent this again, is hopefully bring other services like Azure Logic App and so on and so forth. But we'll talk later on.
Sure.
And thank you everyone again one more time. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one, everyone.
Have a great one. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.